Hi friends, I know it's been a long time since I've made a video, and as much as I really want to be consistent with these videos, there are times that I'm called to kind of pull back, rest my own energy, and not give as much as of myself to the world. And there are a lot of different reasons for that, not necessarily that I'll get into in the video today, but it is about protecting my energy and honoring my truth. I don't want to make content just for the sake of making content and getting views and followers and all of that. That's not why I post these videos. I post these videos because I genuinely want to help people understand the current energies astrologically. But most importantly, I want people to heal their wounds, learn to love themselves, and have a different relationship with God. Like, hands down, that is my mission and purpose on this planet. I did not always have a loving relationship with myself. I definitely have always had a strong connection with God, from a very young age, but a relationship with myself I did not have. And it was through God awakening me and really showing me who He was that I've learned to heal a lot of my wounds, visibility being one of them, and learn to trust myself, which is an ongoing process. But really learning to love myself through God, through Christ consciousness. So that is why I want to share and get back to it. I haven't been sleeping that well the last couple weeks, and that's normally my sign of like, okay, you got a lot on your mind, you gotta start sharing. It's very easy for me to share with my friends. It's very easy for me to help people one-on-one. But I know that I am called to make videos. I know that I am called to reach more people than just in my friend group. So here I am. It's January 6th. We just started a new year. And that new year is in alignment with the Gregorian calendar, which is a Roman calendar. Our astrological new year won't start until the spring equinox, which is March 21st. And then the Chinese New Year, which is the red fire horse, won't start until the new moon in February 17th. So oftentimes everybody wants to start New Year's resolutions on January 1st and can kind of feel frustrated that 2026 has not felt that different from 2025 yet. And it won't. I think after the new moon on February 17th, you will have a resurgence of energy. And then we'll kind of come back fully March 21st. We are animals and there are seasons to life. And it is important to go with those seasons, kind of go with the flow, and also understand what is happening astrologically. I know a lot of people were sick over the holidays. It kind of felt like a final purge. And when you have stuck energy in your body, I've said this so many times, it will show up as disease. And whether it's coming out in a cold or the flu or whatever ailment you have, it is tied to a core wound that has possibly been there for lifetimes. And it is our job to heal ourselves. I cannot heal you, and I will never tell you exactly what you should do because the truth is, we all know. And I know that we don't always trust ourselves. I know that we don't always want to admit that we know, but deep down inside, we do know. We know that the steps that we need to take, we know the people we need to walk away from. We know our purpose. When you really connect with yourself, you do. You know. You know if you're in the right relationship, you know if you're not, you know if that friend's kind of shisty, you know if that job's not serving you, you know. And fear will take over, and it is scary to take leaps. But if you're called to do that, you really do have to trust what's on the other side. So here I am, trusting what's on the other side, and putting myself out there. Astrologically, today is a beautiful day. We have Mars, Venus, and the Sun all conjunct in Capricorn, with Juno and Mercury kind of sneaking up behind, and the Moon in Virgo. So this is like a very grounded feeling energy. Capricorn and Virgo are both earth signs, so it's very grounded. Capricorn I don't always love Capricorn energy, which is funny because I actually do have a lot of Capricorn energy in my chart. But low vibe Capricorn energy is devilish. It's represented by devil in the tarot. It is devilish. Um, they can sneaky, low emotional intelligence or emotional awareness, kind of all work, no play. Um, Very determined to succeed and sometimes without always thinking about that impact on others. High vibe Capricorn, though, um, while it's determined and hardworking, um, it kind of has this ability to succeed in a way that a lot of other signs maybe don't. Virgo is also another grounded energy, and they can be known to be very organized and clean and yada, yada, yada. But Virgo is also very intuitive. Virgo tends to be like a female sign, but it's a very intuitive sign. So we have this, our moon, which can be tied to emotions and soul in Virgo. So it's kind of highlighting our intuition, while we also have a grounded Sun, Venus, Mars, Mercury, and Juno in Capricorn. With the Sun and the Venus exactly conjunct, it's known as a cazimi, and Mars is right there. So those three are really all together, and it kind of helps us bring actions to our desires. It maybe will shine a light on what you value, what you love, what you find beauty in, and help you take action towards whatever that is. With Mercury and Juno and Capricorn, Mercury represents the mind. Juno can represent the wife, but Juno also represents justice and imbalances, like places that we might not feel that things have been fair. So wherever you have Capricorn in your chart, that area is getting a lot of energy. So look at your chart, see where you have Capricorn, and see how that correlates. You know, for me, it's in my 7th house. So relationships, friendships, all of that can be highlighted, and I can see where things are unbalanced. I can have a more grounded approach to my relationships and my friendships, whether it's business partners, romantic, what have you. So all of that energy, it's a beautiful energy, but with Mars and Venus and the Sun kind of all exactly conjunct, Venus and the Sun are at 16 degrees and Mars is at 17 degrees, so like right on top of each other. It can feel somewhat intense. So if you are taking action towards something, slow down, take a breath, and use that moon in Virgo to really kind of lean in and feel through your intuition. Pray, do some breath work, meditation, whatever you can do to kind of bring those big ideas, bring your intuition, bring all of that to earth. That's what we're here to do. We are little channels, little neurons of God that are helping bring that higher energy from the angelic realms to earth. And I'm looking down because I wrote some notes that I did want to talk about today. You know, I think when I first started my spiritual journey with my Kundalini awakening 3 years ago, I did a lot of research to the point where, and still do, and sometimes it's too much. It's too much listening to other people and not enough listening to myself. There are so many different ways that people will tell you how to do things right. This is how you pray. This is how you manifest. This is what you need to do. You're wrong if you do this. You're wrong if you talk about this. And I'm here to tell you it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. We are all very unique and different. And what I am meant to know and learn in this lifetime is going to be different from somebody else. So if I'm taking advice from somebody else, and this is where I struggle with the videos, because if I'm giving you advice, I'm going to tell you, stay off social media. Don't listen to other people. But here I am on social media asking you to listen to me. Like, that doesn't make sense. But I do recognize that social media is a tool to reach more people, and that My goal is for you to listen to yourself. It's not to listen to me. I can give you helpful advice on how to get there, but the end goal is that you will not need me at all and you will solely rely on yourself. So, a lot of the spiritual guidance will tell you do this, do that, pray this way, don't talk about this, don't blah, 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 blah. I'm here to tell you, again, all bullshit. You need to be your most authentic self. You need to be honest with yourself. You need to have compassion with yourself. You need to be trustworthy to yourself. And we have lived for a long time in this very people pleasing society, which can feel nice and it can feel like you're doing the right thing, but you're not, because you're not being authentic to yourself. And hello, I was there for a long time. When you're saying yes to things that you don't really want to say yes to, when you're not taking aligned action because you don't want to hurt somebody else's feelings. And while I don't want anybody having their feelings hurt, that's actually like a super soft spot of mine. I don't want anybody's feelings to be hurt. But at the same time, I also don't want my feelings to be hurt anymore. And sacrificing my own life, my own purpose, my own feelings to make everybody else comfortable, that's not sustainable. And that's not serving God. Because if God gave me feelings and purpose and intuition and I'm ignoring that because I want to make Bob happy, then I'm not serving God, I'm serving Bob. And that goes against everything that the Bible teaches, right? You're putting somebody else above God. And I had a friend ask me, last week sometime, he was saying that he was researching a lot of prayer and manifestation. And I was like, oh, have you had any aha moments? And he said, yeah, I'm praying the wrong way. Like, what way do you think I should pray? And I kind of chuckled for a second, but again, I have very deep compassion for this human. And I said, there's no right way to pray. God is with you all the time. So if you're deep in prayer and you're like, oh God, I'll be perfect, I'll do whatever you say, just give me this one thing, he's gonna be like, okay, buddy, I heard you talking to your homeboys last night or your homegirls telling them X, Y, and Z. Like, he knows you. God knows you through and through. He created you, he designed you perfectly, right? So there is no right way to pray. But it is about being authentic and it is about being honest. And oftentimes, our relationship with God will mirror our relationship with authority. So, this human is a very perfectionist, kind of want to get everything right and really want to be seen in this prestigious kind of way. At least that's how I perceive him. And I think with him saying, like, I'm not praying right. Again, it's a lot of kind of self-loathing that happens, but it's also like, I'm not good enough. That's the wound that he carries. That honestly, I think probably why we were magnetized together as friends was because he has that wound, and that is the wound I want to heal in everybody. And some people are at my assignments and some people are not. But it's just sad to me that we all have lived so long feeling not good enough, whether it was from past life stuff or from a relationship or from our parents where we didn't get the love and the nurturing, the compassion that we deserved. That we have all of these adults walking around not feeling good enough and not trusting themselves and not just being fully authentic and honest. So I want to break that. I want people to understand that you are spiritual just because you're a spirit. So, like, by nature, you're spiritual. I've talked about this before. I don't use crystals. I have them. I don't use them. I have tarot cards. I don't use them. I have sage. I don't use it. Not saying that I never will, because if God calls me to do that, I will. But I believe in the power of myself. I believe in my connection to God, I believe in the power of prayer, and I believe in my heart. I really do believe that God sees our heart. So, when we're living in an unconscious state and we're not living with intentionality of how we talk to ourselves, how we treat ourselves, and how we talk and treat other people, God sees that, right? So he will continue to create relationship patterns or just patterns in your life in general that will help you finally see, oh, I get it now. I get why I thought I was in love with that person, but you probably really weren't. It was just they were mirroring the love that you got from your mom or your dad. And there's something inside some people that says, oh, if I fix this, then that hole from my childhood will then automatically be fixed. But what if your purpose was to just break the pattern? And by doing so, yes, you might hurt somebody's feelings, but what if your purpose in their life was to hurt their feelings, to trigger an awakening for them? The person I'm talking about has hurt my feelings quite a few times. And I don't hold it against them because, one, I see them on a much deeper level than I think he's comfortable with, and that's fine. But I understand his purpose in my life was to get me to kind of the place that I'm at and help me see my own worth and help me really love myself for who I am and not trying to be a perfect person. I think what you see in other people is also what you have in yourself. So while I see him as kind of a perfectionist and like wanting to look good from the outside, I definitely have had that too, where, my family looked great from the outside, but nobody knew how bad it was in the home. And that goes for both childhood family and marital family. I think some of us are really taught to keep a lot inside. And when you're taught to fear God, you fear authority, right? And while I love the Bible and I love God, and I also am very weary of the religious teachings that I have been exposed to, fear God. I do not fear God. God loves me, and he's very compassionate and he's very graceful. And that grace and that compassion will bring me to tears because he did pick me up out of a season where I was filled with guilt and shame and was frustrated and angry. And he said, I love you anyways. I'm still choosing you. And for somebody who never felt chosen, my mom left when I was 7, didn't live with her. My dad was always choosing everything and everybody else over me. I never felt chosen. So that was a wound for me. And I think that's a wound for a lot of people. So to have God pick me up when I was in such an unhappy place and just honestly pick me up off the ground and say, I love you and I see you and I know your heart and I am choosing you. I am going to heal you so you can help others. And I've questioned it a lot more than I should have because why me? Not good enough, right? But I am. And he reminds me all the time that I am and puts me in the right places at the right time to talk to people or to help people in whatever way I can. I no longer help people for the purpose of them seeing how good I am, though. I help people because I want to. I help people because I'm able to. I help people because at the end of the day, I really do love people. As an Aquarian, it's we love humanity, but don't always want to interact with people. And there's a lot of truth to that. But I I want everybody living in a really honest and compassionate and loving space for themselves that's not egotistical, because I do think that some people love themselves. I don't want to say more than they should, but in a way that's not honest. And they think that they're good and they think that they're good people, but they're not. You know, they're filled with greed and lust and envy and anger, and um, they're really damaging to other people. You can't go around intentionally trying to hurt people. You can't go around intentionally trying to hurt yourself. You can't go around um, manipulating people. A lot of the people who love themselves in this grandiose way um, are very manipulative, and they'll lie, cheat, steal, do whatever they can to get what they want. Um, but it's not coming from an honest place. They're manipulating to get their wounds met without acknowledging that I have these wounds and I need to heal them. Because again, you are the only one that can heal yourself. The healer cannot heal you. We can be guides. We can help you connect back with yourself and help you recognize the patterns that you have, and help you realize that it makes sense why you feel this way. It makes sense why you got in that relationship. It makes sense why you stayed for as long as you did. And again, really bringing that love and compassion back to yourself. So while I am wary of religion, and even a lot of what's in the Bible has been misinterpreted, and I have always felt that way. You know, it was written by man, and it's been kind of rewritten, and some books of the Bible have been left out purposely, including, you know, Mary Magdalene, and she's been kind of skewed in this way that's not accurate. And her work was really important. You know, she was Jesus's divine counterpart. That was, you know, they were one. And without Mary Magdalene, like, Jesus would not have been able to do his work. So, and their work was bringing Christ consciousness and love to each person. You know, all the stories in the Bible are about Jesus washing his enemies' feet, loving all of the outsiders. And that's what God does. When you look at the prophets that God has chosen, they were in the dark. They were in a deep, dark place. And he said, nope, not that one. That one is mine. So oftentimes when you are called, and I like to believe that everybody is called, but quite frankly, I don't know if that is true, at least not in this lifetime. I think that some people still have so much work that they need to do on themselves, or have allowed demons to take over their soul, that God is not going to use them in this lifetime. He's just not, because they're not aligned with God. They are aligned with this more egoic life, you know, of hurting people and harming people for their own benefit. You know, they don't care the cost. And, you know, I think people pleasers often, that's why they don't want to hurt anybody, and that's why they stay stuck in relationships or jobs or what have you, because they don't want to hurt anybody. I never wanted to hurt anybody, but again, by not saying how I truly felt, and by not being honest, and by not walking away when I was not happy, my needs were not being met, my wants were not being met, like I was not being taken care of. I prolonged the inevitable, and I made a lot of people hurt along the way. You know, my children, you know, severely affected by me staying in a relationship that was not healthy for as long as I did, because I wanted to protect them, but at the same time, I was not. If you're exposing your children to toxic relationships, guess what? That's the pattern that they are then going to have to break. So I will break every generational curse that I possibly can, so that my children don't have to, because this work is hard. It is hard. It's exhausting. And you don't always know who to trust along the way. I've really struggled with that. I've lost family, I've lost friends, and I can tell you that every person I've walked away from, like, I don't regret it, because it was best for me. And those people were very damaging to me. And I have to protect my energy. You know, we all emit a frequency, and that frequency is in our aura. Other people can feel it, some people can see it, and it's much larger than our physical bodies. So if the energy that I'm emitting is one of a victim, or I'm angry, or I'm sad, or I'm just not feeling taken care of, then the energy that I'm putting out into the world is not a great one. So it's our jobs to clean up our own energetic body, our spiritual bodies, which does correlate to our physical bodies, um, to clean that up so that the frequency that we're emitting is one that was designed by God, not manipulated by humans. That's authentic, most importantly. And, you know, some people say love is the highest frequency, but it's actually authenticity. It's being your honest, true self. And again, it doesn't mean that you have to go out and cuss everybody out. Being my most authentic self, I actually just I just walk away. Like, I'm not going to argue with you. You know, I know that I have to keep relationships with some people now that I would not. You know, if I had a choice, I absolutely would not. But I have to. So because of that, I do show up in a loving way, even though I know that there's so much truth behind that person in our relationship and what have you. But I am going to show up in a loving way because, one, that person does not matter to me as much as they probably wish they did, but they just don't matter that much to me anymore. It's like my level of peace matters the most to me because I need to show up and be a loving and healthy mom. I need to show up and be a loving and healthy human for myself, my friends, my community. Like, that is really important to me. And, you know, when I was talking to this friend about prayer and the right way to pray, you know, I will say that you can start with repentance. And repenting for your wrongs doing is important. None of us are perfect. Every single one of us has done something wrong. You know, I stayed in my relationship for as long as I did because I had a lot of shame about how I was showing up in that relationship. So I felt like I deserved it. And I think a lot of people do that. I was also trained to think that I'm always wrong and I deserve it. And that was kind of part of my battleground to get to be who I am now, you know. And again, I think when you're chosen, you do go through the hardest circumstances. It really is like a training ground to help you serve others. So it's like I went through all of that. I went through not having a mom, having a narcissistic, manipulative father and stepmother, and having this weird family dynamic where I was constantly speaking the truth and then told that I was the problem, which again happened later in life as well. So it's like I went through all of that so I could access my gifts of discernment, my gifts of being honest and being as strong as I am now, that it does not matter how somebody has treated me. It does not matter, you know, how somebody has treated me or what they've done, what have you. What matters is how I continue to show up, how I talk to myself, how I believe in myself. And I think had I not been able to go through all of that, maybe I wouldn't be as strong. Maybe, you know, if I haven't had all of these people stalking my social media and sending evil eye my way and talking trash about me behind my back, like maybe I wouldn't be able to handle what I know is coming. You know, if you put yourself out there, people are going to talk. And at this point, like, I don't really care. You guys can talk all you want, especially the people who have known me. Like, I know you too. So talk all you want. Just talk all you want. It's funny to me, you know, that these people have blamed me for everything. I don't want a relationship with them. I've blocked all of them on social media, yet they create fake pages or they watch all my public story views. And I keep them public because I want the right people to get what I'm putting out. And I'm not ashamed of myself anymore. I love myself through and through, like imperfections and all. I honestly really do. But I did have to go through a series of repentance. And repenting is I'm sorry for how I treated myself. I'm sorry for ignoring my intuition. I'm sorry for ignoring God and what He was telling me to do. And I am sorry for hurting other people. Um, Deliverance will come after that. And that is when you will be free. But until you repent, you will always stay stuck in these chains of being comfortable and just kind of doing your everyday. That's not freedom. Freedom is loving yourself and seeing yourself through the eyes of a loving and compassionate God. And if you didn't have a good relationship with your parents and you didn't get that love and the nurturing from your dad or your mom, it's kind of hard to believe that this energetic entity loves you this much. But if you have ever felt the love, and again, it just makes me cry. I go to church, I cry. And I don't go to church all the time because sometimes it makes me really uncomfortable. But when I listen to worship songs, I cry. um, and when I see the mountains, I cry. When I see God's grace and His beauty, I cry because it is such a beautiful thing. And if you've never felt the love of God in your heart, I really honestly pray in this moment that you do, even if it's for a second or a minute, and that you can just sit and be like, oh my God, because it's overwhelming and it's heart expanding. And there are so many of us that just don't feel good enough for that level of love. And that makes me sad because when you don't feel good enough, you close the doors on opportunities and relationships that were meant for you and that were designed for you and that were going to help elevate you. But because you didn't feel good enough or you didn't feel like you could take the step or have the courage or whatever it was to kind of break the chains, you miss out on the love of your life, or you miss out on a job or a career or what have you. And we all do have free will. Um, but there are certain things that you came into this life to learn, to release, to let go, to experience. And by not following your intuition, by not following your guides, your heart, you're either postponing that, delaying it until the next life. So you're not only hurting yourself, but you're hurting the people that would have benefited from you being in your holiness. You're hurting the people that you would have had this true love relationship with. You are hurting the people that really would have benefited from your grace and your goodness and your compassion and your honesty. So while you're trying to keep the people happy in your life that are not serving you, are not helping you, are not taking, like, they don't care about you. At the end of the day, they don't. You're harming not only yourself, but the people who do love and care for you. And that's sad. Like, that's sad. So I want you to really think about kind of how you view God, how you view authority, how those correlate, how you can bring that love of God, the true love of God that's unconditional. And He knows you. He knows you party with your friends. He knows how you talk to your homeboys. He knows that you're disgusting sometimes. Like, He knows. But He loves you anyways. He knows that you maybe didn't do right by your spouse. He knows that maybe you didn't do right by your children. He knows. But He also knows if you're honest about it. He also knows if you feel sorry. He also knows if you want to heal. He knows all of that too. So you can't manipulate God or the universe. And, I think again, when my friend was asking me, I'm not praying correctly, it's somewhat of a form of manipulation because if he prays right, he'll get what he wants. But he's not doing it to be genuine and to be holy. He's doing it to get what he wants. And that's a big difference. It's important to pray for what you want and trust that you'll get it. You know, one of my favorite stories in the Bible is about Hannah, who really wanted a child and was not able to get pregnant. And she just said, you know what, God, if I do get pregnant, I will dedicate that child to you, but I'm not going to worry about this anymore. And she did get pregnant. And I love that story because I think that's what manifestation is, right? Like it's just giving it to God and saying, this is what I want. I'm going to trust that if it's for me, you will make it happen. And if it's not for me, you'll direct me along the way. And either way, I'm going to be content and I'm going to be happy and I'm going to be fulfilled because I know how much you love me. And when our hearts are full of love from God, we're not seeking love and validation from the world, from relationships, from money, from our status, from whatever it is. Because you're full, like you're holy, whole. You know, our words have meaning and the way that we talk to ourselves matters. And, you know, we're not meant to complain all the time. We are meant to speak prophecy over our lives and speak goodwill over our lives. Sometimes you are going to complain. Sometimes you have to acknowledge that I'm in a dark place and I'm struggling and I need to address that. I think if you find yourself complaining all the time, that's something that you need to work on. Like that's something that you need to recognize. Okay, maybe I'm calling in some of this negativity because that's the energy I'm emitting, right? So I was emitting a more negative energy when I wasn't in a happy place, when I wasn't getting my needs met, when I was putting everybody else above myself. Because on a soul level, I knew that that was wrong. I knew that that was not the life I was supposed to be living. So I want to emit a frequency of positivity, not just to get what I want, but because that's what feels good to me and that is how I can serve others. If my little positive bubble of light can bump into somebody else and create a positive little bubble of light in them, then that makes me happy, you know? And if it doesn't, that's okay too. But I think it does. You know, I think it does. I think that energy is contagious, and who you're hanging around with will impact how you feel about yourself and how you show up in the world and the manifestations that you call in. If energy is contagious and I'm hanging around with manipulative people or I'm hanging around with negative people, that's going to affect my spirit. And so I do require a lot of time alone. I'm not ashamed of that. I like being alone. I enjoy my own energy and I have fun by myself. But that's my time to kind of recharge. So again, I can show up in a loving, compassionate way for myself, my kids, my friends. Like all of that is really important to me. I don't want to show up in the world negative and complaining and angry all the time because it doesn't serve anybody. Who is that helping? You know, if I need to get something off my chest and I can be honest about it and say, okay, your behavior is affecting me this way, that's not complaining, that's being honest. And that's okay. So understanding the difference between complaining and being honest, you know, all these little nuances that when you're researching spirituality and how to heal and all of that stuff can be very confusing. And, you know, one of the messages that I really struggled with, it's like, you are what you attract. That's not always true, too. You might attract people that mirror your wounds or will push your wounds a little harder. And you're attracting those people because those wounds need to heal. It's not because you're manipulative. It's not because you're a narcissist. It's because you have these like deep-seated wounds, again, from other lifetimes, your childhood, what have you, that need to be healed. And those people, as awful as they can be to you, are actually gifts because they're giving you something that you can't get anywhere else. They are helping you with your gift of discernment. They're helping you refine that gift of discernment. They're helping you recognize that you cannot seek love outside of yourself and God first. Like you just can't, because you're not going to get it. That part truly has to come from you first. And that will be reflected. I see it in relationships all the time where people will talk to me about their childhood, and then I'm looking at their relationship now and I'm like, you don't you don't see the pattern here? Like, you're not connecting those dots, because it feels so obvious to me. It's like, how do you not see that you married your mom, you married your dad, or you're repeating the cycle of your parents? Like, you're just doing the exact same thing. And part of the reason why we repeat those patterns is to heal our perception of those people. We might view them as extremely negative and what they did was so wrong and really condemn them. But then we repeat the pattern. And when we become aware of that, we can give compassion back to our parent or whoever it was and be like, I get it. And, empaths struggle with too much compassion. And it's like, I could always see the soul of the people that were around me. And so I really struggled with the dissonance of who they were on this egoic human level versus who I knew that they were on the soul level. And I tried desperately to fix them, to be like, don't you know who you are? Like, don't you know that what you're doing is wrong? But it's not my job to tell other people that. It's their job to figure that out. And while I still have compassion for them, I don't have to tolerate it. And I think that that's, again, if we all have different lessons to learn, like my sister would give me advice and I would like laugh, because I'm like, you and I are literally on the opposite ends of the spectrum of what we need to learn. And if I had listened to her advice, I would have gone directly against my guidance and what I know that I needed to learn. I needed to learn how to have boundaries and to walk away. She has her own stuff to learn. It's a spectrum, right? Everybody's on a spectrum. The narcissism spectrum to empath, autism, whatever. We all got stuff. And we are all different. And your birth chart will show you all of that, right? Like, looking at your birth chart, you can really see a lot of who you are and kind of what you need to work on and grow and learn. But it's through like knowing yourself and trusting yourself and having that relationship with God and meditation and breath work and trusting yourself. I have people who are like, push out content, push out content, push out content. And that's not what I'm here to do. I am here to show people that you can show up and you can show up consistently, but that doesn't mean I need to post every day. That would be exhausting for me. I have other things that I have to be doing. I'm sorry, my dog's growling at something and I don't know what it is. Hold on a second. Sorry, he was growling at two doves in the backyard, which is pretty symbolic for me. But learning to trust your own intuition, learning to trust yourself, learning to kind of feel into the energy is important, because, again, if I had listened to my sister's advice, I would not have been doing what my soul was called to do. I was called to walk away from my family. I was called to be a truth teller. My stepmom used to always say, you have no filter. And I don't, because I'm honest and I'm truthful. And I don't understand why people lie and manipulate. And, I could always see when she was lying. Like, I remember having dinner with her and her just lying straight to my face about a realtor friend of hers. And I'm just looking at her like, one, I was there when you hired the other realtor, or I had heard the stories. And two, like, I can see it on your face. Like, do people not know that, like, we can see it on your face when you're lying? We can see you. Like, you're not hidden behind these shadows. We can see you. I was called. My Pluto in Scorpio, my Mars in Scorpio, my Saturn in Scorpio. Like, I was called to break these chains of my family. And, it's sad to me to not have a relationship with my brother and my sister, and even my dad, because with every toxic relationship, there's good and bad. Nobody's all bad, nobody's all good. It's sad to not have that. But it was sadder to be in a family dynamic that was not honest about what was actually happening, was not honest about the manipulation and the control and the abuse. What my mom endured for my dad, and by product us, was awful. So much so that it made her physically ill for the rest of her life. And he was extremely manipulative, and he was a liar, and he did a lot of really disgusting things throughout the divorce, and everybody praised him for being a good dad. It's infuriating to me sometimes, because it's like, sure, from the outside you think that this man is a good dad because he's providing a house and he stuck around and whatever, but you don't know what he did to my mom, so she could not be around anymore. It's a little tangent, I guess, but I was made to walk away from that dysfunction. I was made to move away from that. I was made to raise my children in an environment where they know that no matter what the relationship is, you are allowed to walk away if somebody mistreats you. You are allowed to walk away if the relationship is toxic or abusive, not loving. If somebody's not meeting your wants and your needs, and it's you've tried to communicate, you've tried to change, you're allowed to walk away. That person's not for you. The majority of folks are in what we call karmic relationships, where you are in a relationship with your family, friends, partners, whatever, that are karmic. It's karma that you are clearing between the two of you. And it could be that maybe you were awful to them in another lifetime, or whatever. They were awful to you. It's a matter of clearing that karma, of saying, I don't have to deal with this anymore. I don't have to hate you. I'm not going to create more karma by doing things to you, but I can be honest about it. I can't, and that's something I really struggled with, is how can I talk about the negative things I've experienced without it sounding, or without creating more karma, right? But there's a difference between spreading gossip and lies and being honest about what happened. And that's something that I'm really kind of coming to terms with, is it is okay for me to talk about what happened. It is okay for me to express all of the things that I went through, because maybe it will help somebody else. Again, it's very difficult to leave some of these toxic relationships, these trauma bonded relationships, because they're not always bad. There are these highs and lows, and if you have children together, that makes it even harder. And again, they're not always bad. So you love them, and you see the good in them, and you see their higher self, and you want them to be that person that you kind of were shown in the beginning, but they're not now. But sometimes your purpose is just to walk away and saying, I'm not meant to heal you. I want a partner that I don't have to heal. We can heal things together, but I am not my partner's healer. I'm just not. Do I want a partner that's protective over me? Yes. But do I want a partner who feels like he has to do that through control? Absolutely not. I want him to trust that I've got myself. We're partners. You're not my rescuer. I'm not your healer. Like, we can walk this path together. I think that's why I've been single for so long, quite frankly, is because I know deep down inside what I'm looking for. So I'm not going to just casually date. Like, I'm just not interested in that. Like, I'm literally just not interested in that. My life is very full. It's just sometimes too full. And I know what I'm looking for in a relationship, and I know that it will happen. I've experienced snippets of it. So I know it will happen. And doesn't mean I know who, it doesn't mean I know when, but I know the kind of relationship that I'm called for. And when that happens, we will be able to show our children and the world like what true unconditional love is. That it's not rescuing, it's not saving somebody else, it's not healing somebody else, it's not denying your own reality. Can't stand when people discredit what I've been through. To me, that's such a red flag. Ooh, I don't like that. Nobody should be denying your reality. If they have questions about it, they can ask questions. But to try to deny my own experiences is wild, and nobody should be doing that. So I always ramble on these videos, and that's okay. Again, I pray beforehand that these messages always get to the right people. I pray to be protected, and I pray to kind of channel the messages that I'm meant to share in that moment. And I am very passionate about this, because I think that there are just so many people that are walking around wounded and are seeking relationships or addictions to heal them, when the only thing that's going to truly heal you is God through yourself. It's not God in this physical form that's going to hold you. It's you. It's Him working through you to see your divinity and your beauty in all of its imperfections. Nobody's perfect. Just nobody is. And we all have flaws, and we all have characteristics that we wish that we could change, but sometimes the hardest things that it is to accept about ourselves, or the things that other people have tried to shame, is actually your gift. So I'm the kid that talks too much in class, obviously. And I was constantly told that I had no filter, and my stepmom hated when I talked, literally hated it. She would often be just aghast at the things that I would say. She was embarrassed that I was being honest. And it's why would you be embarrassed about me being honest? If you're embarrassed, it's from your own weird behavior. It's not from me being honest. You're just feeling shame that other people now know. Maybe don't be a weirdo. I don't know. But it's those are my gifts. It is my gifts to talk to people. It is my gift to not have a filter. It is my gift to be honest and authentic. And so many people, my ex too. Oh my gosh, my ex would be so mad at me if, just anything. I remember I had told my parents one time that he paid for my nails for the first time. And at this point, we'd been together for 100 years. I didn't think it was a big deal. I didn't care that he never paid for my nails before. I could have cared less. He was so mad, crazy mad. And again, I was just being honest. It was just very confusing to me. And that pattern has shown up in my life so much that it's literally restricted my voice. It's just kept me trapped. And that's part of the devil's work, right? That's part of these demonic entities trying to get to me, because if God wants to use my voice, if God wants to use my honesty, if God wants to use my authenticity, if God wants to use my no filter, and they're shaming me for that, then what am I going to do? I'm going to feel shame, and I'm going to shut down. So breaking free from those people who were constantly trying to shame me for just being myself has helped me step into the power that I am. And I am powerful. I know that. And I have struggled with thyroid issues for the last couple of years, feeling powerless through a lot of spiritual warfare and demonic entities and energies being sent at me by these people, and by some people that I don't even know, wanting to shut me up, wanting me to not be who I am, wanting me to not to connect with the people that I know I'm meant to connect to show people what true love and unconditional love really is. They want to shut me up. And I can't shut up anymore. I can't. It's causing me to have thyroid issues. It's causing me not to sleep. It is causing me issues. So again, I have been sacrificing my truth to protect them, and it's still harming me, even though I walked away and I thought I healed all of that. So these videos are a way for me to take my power back and show up in my authenticity, in my honesty, and I'm not ashamed of who I am anymore. I'm not ashamed of what I did. I'm not ashamed of how I showed up in my previous relationship. I am not. I showed up out of a means of survival. And if I did not do the things that I did, how I reacted, or friendships that I made, what have you, I would have died in that relationship. My soul would have perished from this planet. So I have forgiven myself for not living in true alignment with myself, because I did it out of survival. But when you know better, you do better. And I know better now. And I know that I'm here to be honest and help other people kind of step into their own authentic means. And it does not mean, again, I'm never going to tell you this is what you should or should not do, because, well, I can identify patterns. Only you really know what you're meant to do. You know, maybe you're meant to stick it out in that relationship. Um, so I'm not going to tell you that you should walk away. I needed to walk away. That is what I needed to do. Maybe for you, you're meant to show up differently. So I can help people identify the patterns, and they need to decide what's best for them. And I think that that's an important distinguished, you know, you cannot go to a healer and expect advice that, you know, you should do this. And I would caution anybody that has somebody telling anybody that they should do something. I would caution you about that person. This world is full of nuances. It's not totally black and white. And there's so much beauty in the world that we're missing because we're staying stuck in the old programming that was designed to keep us stuck. And, you know, the whole fear of God was designed to keep us fearful of him and not realize how loving and compassionate and just sweet he is. And again, I refer to God as a he. He is not a he, it's an energy. But I do not have a problem with masculinity, so I can refer to him as a he, and I don't feel that that, you know, degrades women. But that's me. If you want to call God a she, do it. You know, call it the universe, call it source, call it energy. I don't care. But there is this energy that is bigger than all of us, that created all of us. And it did not create us to hate ourselves. It created us to love ourselves. It created us in its image, right? So if you love God, how can you hate yourself? Like, that's not right. So I'm glad that I got this out. Hopefully I can sleep tonight. You know, again, my consistency is going to be on my terms. It just is. And I want to reach as many people as I can, but I also am always going to honor myself and my own energy and what I'm capable of giving. I'm never going to overgive for the sake of approval, for the sake of likes, for the sake of views. I'm just not going to do that. That's just not going to be me. So if you're looking for somebody who posts 5 times a day, I'm not going to be your girl. But if you're looking for somebody who is really passionate about this work and who has gone through literal hell to find heaven and is truly looking here to kind of ground heaven on earth, which is, if we go back to the cosmos, if we go back to astrology with the sun and the Venus and Mars and the moon in Virgo and all of that, all those other planets in Capricorn, that's kind of what this energy feels like. It's like, how can we ground this intuitive beauty into natural action that's in alignment with what the world needs? So my cure for that was this video. Get myself ready for the day after staying in jams for probably a little too long over Christmas break, but that's what I needed. Love yourself. Be honest with yourself, though. You know, to all my narcissists, it's like, love yourself a little less. You're kind of a jerk sometimes, you know, like being honest with yourself. It starts with being fully honest of, I didn't handle the situation correctly and I should have done something different. God, forgive me. Forgive yourself. Oh, forgive yourself. Release that shame, release that guilt, like give it to God and understand that you did the best that you could with what you had. And while I know that to be true about the toxic people I've had in my life, they never tried to be better. They never were able to hold themselves accountable. They never were able to be authentic and real and not be manipulative. So that's why I've had to walk away. If you're honest about it, you can heal some of those relationships. So do what you will with that. It's probably longer than it needed to be, but again, I've obviously had a lot stored up. I will be back with another video. I'm not promising when. I will trust the heavens for that. Love yourself. Be honest with yourself. Have compassion. repent when you need to, um, question your relationship with God if you need to, and are you fearful of him, or do you trust him to be loving and kind and compassionate and graceful? Um, and what I would really ask you to do is for a minute or two after watching this video is for you to sit. And I always say, hand on your heart. If you get your right hand, put that on your heart, put one on your belly. Kind of breathe in, breathe out. Connect back with yourself, but feel what it feels like to be loved for you and to love yourself. Does that feel good? I know sometimes when I think about being in a relationship again, I can feel I'm very resistant. Like I can just feel the resistance in my body of like, and I know that I'm opening up more to it now. But I have been very resistant, like just absolutely not wanting to deal with somebody else's junk. I am more open now, but feel the way that receiving love feels for you. Does it feel safe in your body? Does it not feel safe? How can you receive the love of God and the love of people around you in a safe and healthy way? So take a couple minutes and really just sit with that and sit with, what does love feel like for me? What does love for myself feel like? What does love from God feel like? Sit with that. As always, I really do want to step more into this work in one-on-one sessions. It's probably where I thrive the most. So if you're looking to book a session, you can go to unexpectedempress.com and book a session that way. Just reach out to me on any of the social media platforms. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to just listen and chit chat. Most importantly, I just want you to see yourself in a different way, in a more honest, loving, and compassionate way. So that's kind of what I want for all of us. It took me a long time to get there, and I don't want other people to wait 40 something years to truly kind of love who they are. So reach out if you need to. Sit with love in your chest. And if you want, you can put it in the comments of what you felt. Have a great day and enjoy this Venus energy because it does feel good.